Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rotterdam Inside, your daily Eurovision talk show in the second week of the Eurovision Song Contest live from Rotterdam. Today, it's the day of the jury final, tomorrow the day of the grand final, and we've seen, of course, the second semi-final last night, which we will also be talking a lot about in our show today. Today with me, I have Gert Waterink, a super fan of the Eurovision Song Contest. It's very important for us this year to have fans on the show because we have this co-production ESC Daily together with OGAE, and actually, that's what I was wondering. Are you a member of OGAE here or in Spain? Because you're Dutch, but you live in Spain, right?
Well, yes, I live in Barcelona, and I'm a member of the OGAE in Spain. So sometimes I do certain things, but to be very honest, I think nothing beats a nice evening sitting on your sofa and really enjoy the show with a good glass of wine or some cheese. So,
and when you do, who do you generally root for, Netherlands or Spain?
well, I generally root for the best song. I find that the most nice thing about Eurovision. Obviously, I try to root a little bit for Spain, but they haven't really gotten
It's
into
difficult in the last few years, right?
Exactly, especially for Spain. And yeah, I try to talk with my Spanish friends, please do something like this, sound a bit more international with your entries. But yeah, that's up to the public broadcaster in Spain, of course. And as a fan, you don't have control over that, which is a bit sad, of course. But
I do remember you tried to meddle with the Dutch broadcaster 10 years ago, and look how that worked out over the years.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. It was in 2010. That was the year of the infamous national final.
Yes, with Sineke.
That was something that broke my heart for all people involved. So I started a little petition, and it got some footing in the media, which was, from a media perspective, maybe nice and for the fans. But I think at that time, the Dutch broadcaster was not really ready yet. It took 2.5 years, when Anouk
and a really pushy Anouk. That's what it took too.
Yeah, exactly. And then, yeah, we know what happened. We became like the Netherlands.
Well, now we're here.
Exactly. We became a bit of an example for maybe some other countries on how to execute Eurovision and
how to turn it around.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take a look back at that show that we saw last night, because we had the second semi-final in there. Not a lot of surprises, I feel, to many people. If you look at the 10 qualifiers, what was your take on that show?
Yeah, I think it was maybe a little bit, the quality was a bit less when compared to the first semi-final. Still, I found it a very streamlined show. I obviously had some predictions myself. I had 8 qualifiers correct. And I had as an extra maybe Moldova and Albania, which I did not put through, but they went through. So
you're 11 and 12 qualified. I mean,
yeah.
we all know what that's like. You always want to put in more than 10.
Exactly.
It makes it a lot easier. Yeah. But unfortunately,
I'm usually a bit better with the grand final to predict that, because the borderline qualifiers of the semi-final is usually the most difficult thing, and most people have 8 qualifiers correct,
and it can hang on maybe 2-3 points sometimes. Who qualifies?
Yeah, exactly. You saw that, I think, in 2019 with Poland when they were 11th. They were really close to qualify, but yeah. This is still a competition, It's obviously a wonderful podium, but there is still a competition element. So,
what about Moldova? What is because that was one of the maybe the more surprising qualifiers. What do you think stands out most about that act that made it go through?
I think what stands most out about the act was actually the song, which is like an earworm. It's really has a good rhythm. But I think the act was maybe a bit too simple for the overall total package, and vocally the singer could have maybe done it a bit better. So I think they were probably 9th or 8th or 10th in the semi-final.
So they just scraped through. And as Gert already mentioned, choreography is important for a Eurovision performance. That's why we took the liberty of going to talk to some people who know a lot about choreography, not just in Eurovision, but also this year's interval acts.
It's like Champions League television making. You know, you've got what you see here with the technical stuff, the lightning, the LED, everything. It's Champions League television.
We started to audition for dance in January, was that? And in February we started the rehearsals. February, March rehearsals. And then in April...
We started with the stand-ins.
Yeah, we started with stand-ins, and in April we also came to Ahoy, and then we had the whole stage taped on the floor so we could really feel the measurements and finish our choreographies.
We made the choreography for the interval acts, but with the delegations they have their own choreography. Only we are working with stand-ins, but they give us the information what they want. We copy that one. Well, we try to copy that one to the maximum point, like with singing, live singing, dancing, and everything. And then we do that with the stand-ins on stage. So camera, LED, light, everything can rehearse with them. And when we finish, we send that clip to the delegation, and they can see if they're happy with it, how the Netherlands presenting their act. Then the delegation comes, and then we give them some tips. So they ask us, can we still change something? And then we make it to a good performance.
What we can expect very different type of acts. We go from hip hop to very contemporary acts. They all have a very clear connection to Holland, to what it represents Holland. And I mean, I cannot tell you too much about it, of course, but they all have a clear connection to Holland and who we are as human, how we live, how our community is and how our society is. It's created by, the acts are created by Mark Pos and Gerben Bakker. And we are actually the people who can execute it. Therefore, it's very important for the Eurovision Song Contest to go on stage with the same moves every time, because you know you have to hit that camera 1, you have to hit the camera 3, you have to hit camera 7. There are 23 cameras here, so you have to hit them all when needed. And if I go on stage and not knowing exactly what to do, not knowing exactly what my hand is doing, then I will never be able to have that perfect camera shot and that perfect camera and that perfect performance.
Natasja Lammers and Gerald van Wint, who are both responsible for the choreography of this year's Eurovision Song Contest, both in the interval acts and in the participating acts a bit as well, because they were of course involved in that stand-in rehearsal process. And they say something interesting, Gert, because they said that without a good choreography you can never have a perfect performance. How important is it?
Well, I think the choreography is important to tell the story of the song. I mean, and also to emote. If you have an up-tempo song, and this year there are quite a lot of female lead singers with 4 or 5 backing dancers. Mm-hmm. I think those up-tempo songs, I think they need to add on stage to the visual spectacle. And I think that helps if you have a very good, well-thought choreography. Look at Greece, for instance, this year with a green screen. But also, not just dancing, I think if you look to Ukraine this year, they really made some kind of acid trip out of it. And they visualize it very well with the LED screens, but also with the dancers on this compact little sub-stage they have. So yeah, I think it is very important to A, tell the story, and B, to add to the emotion. Yeah.
So we're joined today now by another guest through a Skype performance. It's Skype stream. That's why I have my earplugs in. Rob Ferber, thank you for joining the show today. We've seen you earlier this week because we shown the reportage that we made with you about your job, a day in the life of a professional Eurovision trader. You've had not just one day, you've had, I think, 12 or 13 Eurovision days behind you. How are you feeling? Are you getting tired already?
You do get a little bit fatigued towards the end, and it feels like you're within sight of the summit of Mount Everest, but you're kind of starved of oxygen, and the weather's closing in, and you've got to just you've got to battle on. Yeah, this next couple of days is obviously absolutely pivotal for what I do.
Started discussing some of the participants in the grand final, some who rely on a strong choreography. Greece already came by. What do you think about Stefania?
Yeah, I like the presentation. I just felt watching last night that maybe it's not quite connecting through the TV screen as strongly as I initially hoped. I mean, she's incredibly telegenic. I think she's very votable. And in that respect, she stands apart from a lot of the other up-tempo solo females. But yeah, I'm thinking Greece may struggle to be top 10 this year. It might sneak in there, but probably missing.
You mentioned all the female up-tempo songs, and Gert has also spoken about that as well. It's a theme this year, right? So it's very important for us now to start distinguishing which of those, I mean, of course, the worst ones have already been sent home, but there's still a lot left. Which of those are actual contenders for, let's say, top 10, and which are not? What's your take on that?
It's very, very difficult to call, Steve. Obviously, Cyprus is going to open the grand final. I mean, that will have impact as an opener. I've never been completely sold on the song or Eleanor, the way she performs it. I think that, again, it's sort of borderline top 10, but I wouldn't be confident on that one. You've got Serbia, which is actually of interest to me. I think this is successful. I think they really bring the energy to the stage in a really compelling way, and it's actually got a nice running order there in terms of early in the show. It's drawn 8. It's just got a nice position there to have some impact. I think Malta obviously is going to have impact as well. That's in the 6 slot, which came as a surprise.
Why do you think they put her there?
Well, this is the one that we're all scratching our heads with, because we presumed that Destiny won semi-final 1, and if she did, then the EBU to give Malta 6 seems slightly odd. Obviously, we had Alexander Rybak win his semi-final, and he was put in the 7 position. So it's not without precedent. Also, Malta was given the pimp slot in the semi-final. So I think this is maybe the EBU saying, yeah, we gave you a little bit of a helping hand in the semi-final, but now we've got to play a little bit fairer, and we're not going to give you as much help in the final. Like I say, she's still going to stand out from 6. I think Malta's going top 4. I'm not sure it's good enough to win. But yeah, in terms of the up-tempo females, Destiny is the leader of the pack. If you move to the second half of the draw, probably of most interest is actually San Marino closing the show. It's going to have impact from there. We've got Flo Rida. He is part of it. It's a fun song to end the show. It will have impact. I still think on the jury side it's going to suffer enormously, so it's going to have to be pulling in a significant televote to get into the top 10 picture. I think it's probably falling short.
What about other genres then? Because there are, of course, a lot of other contenders in this year's contest. You said in the female up-tempo, it's Destiny leading the pack, but we got a couple of strong ballads in there too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about France, yeah?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I mean, you know, the 20 slot, I was expecting this. I kind of called this. I thought this would be where they would place France, 20 or 21. It's a lovely position for Barbara Pravi to really shine. I think having Ukraine before is a stark contrast, and it's going to work in France's favour. And then, you know, Azerbaijan to follow. So that's a really good position for France to have impact. I'm 100% confident it's doing brilliantly well with the juries, and I think it might surprise people on the televote as well. I think it's going to be right up there. What I've seen of the staging and the way that Barbara performs is absolutely top level. It's almost iconic, I would describe it as, and yeah, in terms of the ballads, well, French chanson, that is the best one for sure. So yeah, obviously, you know, if you want to talk about Italy, that's the big rival to France.
Italy is that what you see as their biggest competitor now?
I do sense it's a two-horse race. I was a little surprised that the EBU gave Italy the 24th slot as opposed to Finland in 16. I thought it'd be round the other way. I thought Italy would be given the earlier running order with Finland towards the end. That is a big televote boost to Italy. There's no doubt about it. It's just a case of how far ahead, in theory, Barbara Pravi is after the jury points reveal of Italy, and whether she can fend off Italy when it comes to the televote. It could be close, but I'm calling it in France's favour.
And of course, France doesn't need to win the televote in order to stay ahead of Italy, right? That's the trade-off that we're going to see.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this is the thing. We're trying to figure out how the jury points reveal is going to pan out. It's what we see first. I think France is topping the jury vote. That's my gut instinct on what I've seen. And yeah, it's a case of how far behind will Italy be on the jury side. I think it is falling down because it's polarizing. It's quite abrasive. I think it's not that easy to enjoy in terms of a first listen. It's a grower. It gets better the more that you hear it. The Italian language is also a slight barrier. It's fantastically staged and performed, no doubt about it. But yeah, I think France is going to be in front of Italy after the jury points reveal. And then, like I say, it's a case of how things go on the televote and whether France can maintain its lead.
Are you going to still be trading at that moment, or have most of your bets already been placed?
This is part of the craziness of in-running trading, Steve. You have to keep a cool head. The markets can become very, very chaotic, dramatic price movements. I think we're going to see that this year. I think there are going to be big differences between the jury side of things and then the televote. And you have to factor that in. You have to be thinking ahead, okay, who's doing well on the jury vote? So if you're correct, those countries are going to shorten in price on the back of jury success and being at the top of the leaderboard. And then the ones that haven't done so well, in theory, will drift in price. So you can take advantage of that. You know, if you've got a big profit on France, and France tops the jury vote, its odds are going to shorten. So there would be a chance there to lay, as we describe it in the trading world, and possibly to back Italy if it is lagging behind France and the price on Italy drifts out.
To make sure you win in both cases.
Exactly. That's what you want. You want to be securing a profit on the countries that you think are the ones that have a chance to win.
One last question before we close up, Rob. I know that you and me both actually have been big fans of the Bulgarian entry this year. We spoke a lot about it over the 2 weeks. it doesn't seem to be catching on as much as we may have thought and hoped. Do you have any explanation for that?
Yeah, it's a really difficult one to figure out. I think we're seeing the prices on Betfair move in response to social media stats in particular. And obviously, Bulgaria just didn't make any sort of impact last night, and the market immediately spoke. And Bulgaria has been drifting in all markets. I think Victoria said in a press conference she was a little bit under par last night vocally. I did hear that during the performance. That possibly saw Bulgaria suffer a little bit. I think it also suffered because Finland followed it in the semi-final, and Finland took a lot of the focus away, I think, from Bulgaria. Interestingly, now they're reversed. Finland comes first now, then there's actually an ad break, and then we have Bulgaria. So, you know, I haven't given up hope on Bulgaria doing very well. I think it should go well with juries. I don't see why it shouldn't be right up there. Televote, well, you know, it's an English-spoken ballad, so it should travel east and west. It should get televote points all across Europe, and that goes for the jury points as well. So I think, you know, it's still very much in the top 10 picture, and there's probably been a market overreaction, and, you know, Bulgaria could easily start to push up to, you know, maybe sort of top 5, top 6, that sort of range.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us again, Rob. It's always nice to have your insights on this Eurovision Song Contest, and good luck as well as tonight and also tomorrow during that that live trading that you just described. Good luck with that.
Thanks very much.
All right. Zo, ik doe even deze uit. So, Gert, we spoke now with Rob a lot about the big candidates for this year's grand final and about the running order as well. It's interesting, right? Because we have weeks and months to talk about running order for the semi-final. And then when we're all going towards this grand final and we're all already tired, then somewhere on Thursday night at 3 or 4 o'clock, this is running order for the grand final comes out, and we have to start figuring it out all over again. What does this mean? Who has a good draw? Who doesn't?
Yeah. I think every little element, whether it's LED visuals or even the running order, the song, the charisma of the singer, adds to the entire total package. And I think at this stage, I find it very difficult. But if I look at the running order, and if I only look at the running order, I think France actually is smashed in between Lithuania, Azerbaijan, and Ukraine. And because of that, it will stand out, I think. It's the only classic ballad in a similar way of North Macedonia 2 years ago, but better. And it has a certain X factor also with Barbara, the singer.
Rob has that as his number one favorite at the moment. The bookies put France, I think, at 2 right now. Would you say that France is your number one call if you had to call one winner at this point?
I find it so difficult because
it is.
I was also similarly positive about Switzerland. And I think Switzerland actually also stood out on the evening yesterday, not because of the staging so much, but because of the singer. But if I have to really call
His vocals are great, right?
Yeah.
John Steers.
If I have to call it, I would put France at the moment as number one. I also think the bookmakers right now are a tiny bit in their own bubble, maybe, in the sense that they are looking in a very pundit manner to all these songs, and I think for them Italy has the best chances. But you know, all winners in the past 10 years have something in common. They are easy to hum. You can recollect them quite easily, and they have a good melody. And I do think that France, in the end, will win.
What about Italy, though, being here at 24, last with all those favorites?
Yeah, but, you know, Netherlands was also in 2014 at that position. And in the end, Austria still won. So running order is so difficult. You would say because of the power of a rock song, it doesn't matter so much where Italy is being smashed. You obviously don't want to see Italy very close to Finland because they are similar rock songs. And it will help Italy. But I think the song in itself, looking a bit away from the running order, is maybe a little bit too niche. And earlier I thought maybe televoters would go massively for Italy, but I'm now in this week I've been thinking maybe it is more of a jury rock song actually than a televote. But I could be wrong.
It's a couple of interesting things that you say. Well, first of all, I think we're all struggling at the moment because I wouldn't know between 4 or 5 songs which ones to pick. I see you hesitate with every favorite that we go through. And then there's the bookmakers who keep jumping up and down. I said a minute ago France is second with the bookmakers. Then my team informs me they're now 4th, actually. So it's jumping up and down.
Really,
and yeah, I mean, and they were, I think 24 hours ago, they dropped to 4 and then moved back up to 2. And now they're back up to 4. So it feels like the bookmakers themselves, like the market, as Rob would say, hasn't really quite figured it out yet. And it's such a close year.
I would like to add one thing maybe. I think during rehearsals, and especially the bookmakers, they really try maybe sometimes too hard to figure it out. Because I think in the end, it's still about emoting. What song causes you goosebumps? What song makes you really happy? Yeah, that's fun. And I think in that sense, France emotes a little bit better than Italy, I think. I think there are still a lot of people who think Italy is a bit, oh no, that's not my type of song. Also with France, I could be wrong. But look at Portugal in 2017. They never were at first place in the bookmakers. So there's always a chance for a scenario that doesn't look similar to 2019, when Netherlands was constantly number 1 at the bookmakers. Every year is different, and maybe this year around the number 2 or the number 3, France, could win.
And as you say, the song is always the most important thing. It is the Eurovision Song Contest, after all. So let's talk to someone who knows a lot about music, a lot about the music of this year's production of the Eurovision Song Contest.
My aim is to try to make it as possible, as much as possible, a complete thing, one whole thing. Because you have already a lot of different songs, and then what's in between should be one family. Every part of music should be connected to each other, although there is a song in between. Last year we started with the idea we have to do to make sort of a big promotion for Holland, and we wanted to use the best artists and the best designers and everything, the best from Holland, to show that to the world. And we came up with The Power of Water, a thing that's a show, an interval act. And then we came up with Davina Michel, one of our great singers right now. She is fantastic. And she and her producer Sebastian, they wrote a song, Sweet Water, and that's connected with my music, The Power of Water, which is quite like a film score. There is one movie that we call it the Backstage movie, and they are filming it right now, this week. So it's not finished yet, and I have the music for that movie. I have it sort of semi-finished, but I have to finish that when the movie is finished. And then Jelle, he's my super assistant, and assistant is maybe, he's just a great music producer. And he's now doing, making some interesting whooshes for a movie for Duncan Lawrence. And little details like that we're doing right now. I saw ABBA on TV, and within 5 seconds with Waterloo, I knew, well, they're going to win. And I thought, this is great, what a great song, and I want to do something like that too later. So it happened first with Rutger Gott and later with Achille, who's one of the presenters now, the hosts now, which is very nice, of course, for the both of us, to doing this together. But when you are doing it and you only do your own song, you just focus on that. And now I have to do the whole thing and look over everything, which is well, really nice. Writing a song and being able to present your country is a special feeling. But this is, for me, it's even better, if I'm honest.
Erik van Tijn, the guy behind all the music for the opening and interval acts of this year's Eurovision Song Contest. And of course, in the grand final, he and all of us would have liked to see Duncan Lawrence perform as the winner of 2 years ago. That won't be happening live. How sad is that?
Well, I think it's gutting, really. I think especially, well, you saw the videos already, both from Daddy from Iceland, the performer.
Yes.
And also
Australia, of course, the backup tape. Yeah.
And Destiny was also for a moment in that same route, but now also Duncan Lawrence. For those artists, they are really looking forward to be on that big stage. And at the start of the contest, they were obviously thinking, okay, finally there will be an audience again. It is happening. And then, yeah, something like this happens. It's the sad element of this current pandemic where we have these unexpected things. The same counts for me because I had to come from Spain and luckily my tests were all negative. But if something happened on the airport El Prat in Barcelona and I was positive, I wasn't here. So you'd start thinking about that already beforehand. But still, as an artist, it's maybe even more gutting for your emotions. And yeah, I feel very sad. I really live with Duncan Lawrence.
They have thankfully pre-recorded some of his performances, so he will be visible at least at the grand final. But yeah, he will be the first winner not to actually be live on stage during that show, and in a long time. So that's a sad touch.
Yeah, I have been thinking, because he's obviously now in quarantine in a hotel, I have been thinking, is it possible with a laptop, with Skype, that he can give the points, via Skype, That would be a nice idea, or something that is live, because a lot of this is recorded. But I hope they do something about that, because he cannot also give the trophy to the
true.
singer.
It's another element of it. Yeah,
that's The last time that happened is probably in 1980 when the Israeli winner was not in The Hague. So I really hope that something will be found as a solution. But it's the fact of these times.
Yeah, and let's be very glad that at least there is a Eurovision Song Contest.
Absolutely.
And then this is the price that that some of us will have to pay. Erik van Tijn spoke about the music that he created. We've of course seen the first two shows. You've seen them as well on TV now. What do you think of the tunes, the soundtrack basically of this year's Eurovision Song Contest, the overall feel of it?
I think the overall feel is a bit, also in a way Dutch design. If you look at the end of a postcard, when you shortly see the flag, you just hear three tiny tones of music, to introduce the next country. I think it's very fitting to the overall theme, to the logo, etc. So yeah, I really like it. But also the interval acts, the compositions that have been made, stunning. Yeah, and obviously an interval act is something different than a postcard, because there you really can celebrate and you put all the music in that, all kinds of instruments. But I think Erik van Tijn is doing a wonderful job. Yeah.
And of course, I mean, we've already discussed in this talk show the acts that have come by. Davina Michel, of course, received a lot of praise, and then there were some very interesting acts in the second semifinal as well. But now we're going towards that grand final, and I've heard so many people talk about Music Binds Us, the thing with Afrojack. What do you? I mean, I haven't seen it yet. You haven't seen it yet, but what can we expect from that? Is the hype maybe too much? Or are we going to be or are we going to be blown away?
I think it will be slightly bigger than the interval acts from the semifinals, of course, because also Glennis Grace is singing.
Yes, yes.
What I did like about the choreography is that there are a lot of modern dancers on stage that really adds something to the scale of it all. The problem I had 2 years ago in Tel Aviv is that I didn't see a coherent interval act. There were a lot of song performances of Eurovision songs. It's wonderful for the people in the hall, but especially now in the Corona pandemic, you have to think also about the fact that we have a TV show. And I think Erik Fontijn understands that, the directors, and they seem to be going towards a more coherent, one coherent interval act. And I really like that. That's what the definition interval act stems from. I mean, look at 1970 in Amsterdam. That was the first time when there was a big synchronized dance act on stage in Amsterdam Rai. And that started the interval act definition. So yeah, let's see how it goes coming Saturday. But I'm very positive, and what I've seen so far impressed me.
River Dance, of course, then set the standard, right? For
Also, yeah, River Dance was really setting a standard. I think Sweden in 2016 they focused a lot about on the humor of things. Also in 2013, their idea was to add humor to it. I think the Netherlands take is a bit more modern and impress people with how many creative thinkers are behind such an act. Dancers, singers, you name it. And I think it can work very well.
And the fact that Afrojack is involved probably also shows that, I mean, we're a country of DJs, right?
Yeah, I haven't talked about that yet, and I think I'm really curious how that is going to look and sound from my sofa.
So yeah, let's talk about that for a moment, because you will be, you said from your sofa, so you're here in the Netherlands to watch the grand final. You don't have tickets for tomorrow, right?
Well, actually, I have to correct something. This is the first ever time that I'm going to a grand final of the Eurovision Song Contest.
So you will be in the arena.
I have.
Good for you.
Ticket. And it was a bit last minute because of the Corona pandemic. I was not able to get tickets last year, but I thought maybe this year it will be a bit easier because a lot of foreign fans are not coming. So, and you already saw that some tickets were not sold, so I tried and I immediately got a grand final ticket. So I will be in the hall. It will be my first time. I'm so used of watching Eurovision from my sofa, because especially now with augmented reality infused, you don't catch that when you are in the hall, you know? So you see it in this pandemic, the producers really wanted to make more a show for the people at home. Look at the little tiny house. That's a recurring element. But I think for a fan and for me personally, I've done also my bits for Eurovision. I love it. It will be very exciting tomorrow.
And you're going to experience it live for the first time. Thank you very much, Gert
Thank
Watering,
you.
super fan of the Eurovision Song Contest. He was a part of our talk show tonight. Talk show that is, of course, a co-production between the fan club OGAE and ESC Daily. Thank you for watching. And tomorrow, right before that grand final, we will have one last episode and take a look ahead at that grand final of the Eurovision Song Contest. Enjoy your night. Good night.